timer, and the timer starts, and we've got 38 seconds before we actually appear on screen. Okay. Now, the reason for doing this normally is that we're going live to several different places. And if you go live to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, they've all got different connection times. So by giving this 40-second countdown, it means you know you're live in all the different places. But today, we're exclusively live in the BeLivers group. So 3, 2, 1, let's hide that and reveal. Hopefully this will work, and I'll go there. Wait a minute, and in a second, go there. Get all the trouble out of the way first. Hello, everybody in the BeLivers group. Hello, Ed. Nice to see you. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just going to make one change to the layout, so that, just give me a second. My studio is a bit tardy today, so I'm going to change themes. I'm going to change to that theme and apply. And there we have it. Okay, so I want to say to everybody who's watching live, thank you and welcome to the show. And the topic of today's show in the BeLive Streamers community is live streaming for real estate agents. Now, last week I put a question in the group asking for people who were in the real estate arena, and Ed, you replied.
Okay. You have questions for me? Where do we go?
Right. Okay. Basically, I mean, let's just start off with where you are, where you're based.
Okay. I'm in Florida, in the Orlando area, specifically a city called Lake Mary, but about 50 minutes from where the landmark that everybody knows, which is Disney World. And I'm a real estate agent, although much of what I do is real estate investment.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've been using BeLive for, I think since about 2017.
Yeah, since the early days.
Since the early days, and they keep adding new things to it. And I know that's one of your advertisers.
Yeah. Okay. I just need to move this, just pointing at the back. Right. Okay. So I suppose the best place we can start is with the equipment that you're using to broadcast.
Okay. Well, this is a Rode Procaster. They have another one similar that's in white called a Podcaster. The white one you can plug directly into USB. This one needs has something called an XLR output, so it needs a preamp.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, so you've actually got an amplifier as well.
Yes. And you need one for it. Like I said, this has a the connection that comes out of here is and the amplifier is a UR22 MK2. There are many of them on the market. Actually, you could actually buy a cord that has it built into it, but it doesn't have as many bells and whistles on it. If I was going to do something that was that's new, if I was starting from scratch, I might think about some of the Audio-Technica mics, like the ATR 2100 or the AT 2005 USB that plug directly into the USB, or they also have a XLR, so you could plug them into an adapter that I just mentioned. You can buy these adapters for over under $20 online. Another microphone that I like. If you want to spend a little bit more, the ones I talked about are under $99.
Yeah.
And if you're going to buy something to use as an amplifier, you might think of a Shure SM58, which is a kind of like an industry standard performing microphone. All the ones that I've talked about are called dynamic microphones. And one of the nice things about dynamic, and they also have a specific pattern they call cardioid, which means it's very directional. And the reason I like that is because if the air conditioner or the furnace pops on in the background, you can't hear it. And that's right, because it's fairly directional. You're going to want your mouth to be fairly close to the microphone, because if I go around like this, I'm speaking at about the same level, but the volume is dropping, and if I pull back away from it, it drops even faster. So if suddenly my dog is knocking at the door, which he often does when he sees it's closed, of course I have it closed because we're on the air here. But if I hear the dog knocking on the door, you're not likely to hear that here.
And totally understood. I mean, in that vein, I've got the Audio-Technica microphone, the AT 2020, and to achieve the same effect as you, I'm actually using Crisp.ai, which is noise cancellation software.
Right. Well, the 2020, I think, is directional also.
Yeah. And Nick is with us, and he's saying hello, Stephen and Ed. And it might be an idea, Nick, to invite Ed to join us on our show on Monday and talk about microphones, if he's free one Monday. And over to Corinda, and Corinda is saying hello to Nick, and over to Corinda again. And right, Ed, please meet Corinda Marley, who's based in London, and one of our good friends and a fellow live broadcaster. And he broadcasts everywhere on every system you've ever heard of. He's even on quite a few systems. So Corinda meet Ed, Ed meet Corinda. Okay, if you're watching us live in the BeLive Streamers Community and you've got questions for Ed about real estate or about, as it would appear, about computer hardware as well. If you're into Linux, then Ed's your man. Okay, so over to Nick, and Nick is saying, right, okay, you now have an invitation, Ed, to join. Nick and I do a broadcast on Amazon Live talking about hardware. And if you've got 15 minutes to spare any Monday between 10 a.m. Eastern and midday, then you're more than welcome to actually come and talk about microphones.
Okay, because I love the way every time you're doing a show, you translated it into East Coast US time also. And you also choose a time that kind of makes sense here. So I wouldn't have to be up at 3 in the morning my time when it's, 8 o'clock your time.
That's yeah. I mean, basically, ever since we started this in the days of Blab and then BeLive, I've always worked on East Coast time because that's where the audience for live video is. We don't actually have a big audience in the UK for live video. The audience for live video is in the States, and it's easier for everybody if I work on East Coast time rather than Pacific.
Okay, so should I talk a little bit about myself?
Surely.
Okay, I have a degree in electrical engineering, so I started out doing IT, and as Steve mentioned, hold on, my headset's tangled up here. As Steve mentioned, I do work with Linux, and I use Linux, and there we go. That's better. All right. So what do I do now? I am a real estate agent. I'm a real estate agent I hold a license in Florida, although most of what I do is investing, and I've been investing for a long time. I know that you've probably seen those shows about flipping houses on TV. When I did that for the first time, I didn't know that it was called flipping because there were no TV shows. What I did a few years ago, and I kind of stopped it shortly, a little bit before I moved down to Florida. I used to be in Connecticut, and there were a couple of things I did to market myself on social media. So one of the things I started, and this is probably a year or two before I was going live. But the way I started on social media, I created a Facebook group that had to do with that was specifically for local Connecticut investors. It's now grown to where it's got over 4,200 members, one of the largest in the state. As far as there are other investor groups too, in addition to mine, one of the largest in the state. And what I did was I started a show, which I called my team show, where I was interviewing people who you want on your team if you're doing real estate investment. So I would interview a hard money lender or mortgage people, people who inspected houses, in the different trades, and talked about say a company that sells flooring. There's many different kinds of flooring you can use. Some are better than others, and some are better for specific places than others. So since and this helped me actually in some ways that I didn't think. First of all, going live and talking about anything that's involved in your field lets everybody know that you are the expert in your field, and it kind of gives you some more authority. And then I moved to Florida, and well, one of the other things I do is I lend money, and I also borrow money from people. And it's people would say, well, look, I'm about to do this deal and I need to borrow some money for short term. Short term in real estate typically means, say, 3 months to a year, 6 months to a year. Do you know anybody who has money to lend? Why not? Okay, I'll lend the money. So in addition to lending money, I also borrow money when I'm doing real estate deals, and there are reasons why this makes sense. So my next show or series of shows, I'm going to be talking about how you can use, and this is probably going to be, I don't really know anything about how retirement funds or retirement accounts work in UK, but in the United States, we have things called IRAs, and maybe if you're at a company, you've got a 401k or a 302b, and after you leave the company, you can put that money different places. We have ways of setting up something called a self-directed IRA. And if it's self-directed, it means that you can choose, you can have a lot of say as to where the money goes. So for instance, from my retirement account, I can lend money to somebody who is building a house, or maybe they buy a property that they're going to rent out and they need to buy it quickly. So they'll borrow money from me quickly because I can provide it quickly, and I'm going to have a little bit higher interest rate than they're going to get if they went to a bank. But they can close very quickly. They can fix up their house, and then they can go and refinance it, pull all that money and possibly more out of it, pay me back, and then they've got the typical low interest loans that you can get here in the States.
So that's sort of bridging finance.
I guess you could call it bridging finance. Here, generally, bridging is going to be for a much shorter term. Some people might even just need money for 24 to 48 hours in order to do something with real estate or some intermediate step in real estate. So we call these short-term loans either private loans or hard money loan, or soft money loan, depending on generally on what the terms are. We're always looking for people who have money that they'd like to lend, and because we can right now, let's say that you've got your money in some sort of a fund that's paying interest. Generally today, you can tell me what things are like in the UK. I'm sure it's not much different, but generally today, it's difficult to get paid in any kind of a money market fund more than generally a fraction of a percent. But I don't think anybody's got more than 1%. Is that true where you are too, Steve?
It is similar. Can you just sort of change the topic slightly, because you're talking
Sure.
about money and finance. What about cryptocurrency? Do you get involved in that at all?
Not really. And I know people that are. I know people that do it. I know people that, well, from my background in IT, at this point, if you're going to there's different ways that people invest in crypto. One is they actually purchase it, and another is they mine for it, which is done with one or more computers acting in concert with each other to use different formulas and search for them. And what they tell me is that if you're mining today, you're going to spend more money on electricity than you're going to get from the actual currency that you find. So, and what happens to it? Well, it kind of fluctuates up and down, and when I guess that at one point it was the conversion rate was such that it's a fraction of a cent to buy a unit. And I guess if you got into it then and today, it's, I don't even know what I mean, any idea what the price is?
Last I heard, Nick will know more.
Okay.
Nick, I think Nick's into crypto, but I last time it was about $6,000.
Okay, because I think that, I mean, last of the ones that I was seeing is numbers in the 35,000. $46 or 46,000, Nick?
Hang on, $46.
$46,000. Okay, so when I know people who claim to have bought it for fractions of a dollar, and they lost their digital wallet, so they are not millionaires today.
Right.
Because if you lose your wallet, it's very difficult or impossible to recover.
Oh yeah, that's true. So in real estate, we're talking in terms of buying and selling property. It's all done in hard dollars.
Well, that's not true. Actually, there was there was one very large purchase, and if you'd asked me this before, I would have looked for it. But I think a multi-million-dollar house in either in Miami or Tampa, Florida, was recently bought with cryptocurrency, and you can use whatever you want, but the IRS is going to find out what the real value is. So if you're buying real estate, if you're buying real estate in the United States, every time you buy or sell a piece of real estate, a document outlining what you bought or paid, what you bought or sold it for, goes to our Internal Revenue Service, IRS, which are the people who collect money in our taxes. So they know what you're what you're paying. And they'll do their own conversion if you don't, I guess.
Indeed.
Does that make sense, Steve?
It makes sense. Okay. Now, I did put up a picture of a website earlier of where you are, which you tell us a little about where you live, because you're in Florida, yes?
I'm in Florida. Yeah, I'm in Lake Mary. You put up you showed me a Lake Mary one. You can put that up again. No one knows where Lake Mary is, and everybody knows Orlando, because that's where Mickey Mouse lives. So in order to tell you where I am, I guess the easiest thing is with a landmark. So I'm about a 50-minute drive from Disney World.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm going to change one or two things around. Stay with me, just bear with me a minute, Ed. I'm going to bring this up on screen. Okay, and then I'm going to hide myself.
Okay. And Orlando awaits you. So Orlando is one of the, I guess, one of the major cities here. We're in Central Florida, which means that I'm about maybe an hour from the East Coast of Florida, and maybe 2 hours from the West Coast of Florida, depending on traffic. We get less hurricanes here in the middle of the state. It rains once a day here around 6 o'clock, but the rain is over in time for me to walk the dog.
Right. So
hey, I wanted to. There was one other gadget I wanted to show. I have my lighting here set. Well, first of all, I've got this behind me, so I always have a background there anytime I'm going to broadcast, and I have a device connected to Google, so I can just say into my phone, turn off video.
Cell phone stores near you.
Okay, turn off video 1.
Okay, turning the video 1 off.
And my lights go off. Turn on video 1.
Okay, turning on the video 1.
Okay. And
yeah. I mean, technology is totally amazing these days, because you can control everything in the house. Can't
yeah,
you
you can. My father has been doing that kind of thing for years. He actually, back, I'm gonna say in the 90s, he had a house in Vermont where it's cold and they heat with electricity, which tends to be expensive.
Yeah.
And he wanted as much solar heat as possible, so he'd use less electricity when he wasn't there. And he figured out how to set up a sensor so that when the sun came up and warmed the sensor, the curtains, the shades would open up, and then when it got cool, they would close. And what he figured out was that the sensor didn't work very well because it was just sort of at a point. So what he did was he took a penny, it's a copper coin here, 1 cent, and he soldered it to a piece of metal so the sun would shine on the copper penny, and that's what would cause enough heat from the sun to raise the shades. And he had these boxes with buttons on them. Are they called X10 or something like that? Is that an old technology?
Yep.
And the X10, he used X10, and he had them set up to lights all over the place. So nobody who visited him knew how to turn off and on the lights in like the living room or the family room or the dining room, because you had to have this and you had to push the buttons on it.
Wow. And Nick has just made 2 comments, which I'll bring on screen now. And he said about your switching the lights on and off with your phone. That's very clever. And he then took it a stage further and said, I switched my Alexa off. She was so badly behaved.
Well, the reason why I hooked it up this way is because I've got one light over here and it's difficult to get to. And then I've got another light over there, which is difficult to get to. And by hooking them up to a single switch, which it would just be too difficult to run that switch over to my desk where I am.
Oh, yeah.
So it's basically across the room, and I think that I probably need to put something on to give me a little bit more light on this side, and maybe something with it that I could change the the colors on to light my background. But that'll come.
Totally. I mean, we're just moving so fast technology-wise, but you've got a combination there of convenience and the fact you can actually control it from your desk without moving, and the light switches are remote from you. So that's all good. Now, I just want to change screen for a moment, because we mentioned Orlando so that people know the area you're in, but you're actually here, aren't you?
So this is Lake Mary.
Yeah.
It's a city of, I'm going to guess, around 18,000 people.
All right.
Again,
okay.
we're in Seminole County, which is in about 50 minutes from Disney.
Got a good question. Do you actually? I know you're close to Disney. Do you actually visit Disney?
Yes. Well, actually, yes, I do. And it is nicer to go. Well, okay. So the last year I've been down here for 20 months, and I'm gonna. So what? 18 of those 20 months we were under COVID rules.
Yes.
Is that about right?
Oh yeah. We've had the same in the UK.
Right. So going there. Well, the rules change from time to time. Generally, we probably wear masks less in Florida than in many other places, but they're actually doing a lot of building at Disney. They stopped building. This really surprised me. They pretty much stopped their building during COVID. And when you build at Disney, because you've got people there all the time, what they do is they surround whatever it is they're making changes to with a movable wall so that you can't see them do the work. And they stopped doing the work, but there was nobody there. They didn't even need the walls. Eventually they opened. I think last time we were there, I wasn't there. My kids went, and when they went, they only needed to wear masks when they got on the transport. Even when they were the only people in the monorail car, which didn't make sense to anybody. As a matter of fact, they thought that it was odd that when you stop at a mid station, there's a Disney guy outside saying, who's not wearing a mask, telling you to put one on because you're inside of the car.
Yeah.
Which didn't make any sense. So yes, I've been there actually. Yeah, been several times. And when people come to visit, maybe we go there because I'm 50 minutes away. Well, there's other people I know, for instance, who live closer to there. And they have season passes, which makes sense. So maybe they'll drop in there, have dinner at one of the fine restaurants, and then leave. Which when it's 50 minutes each way, it doesn't really make the same amount of sense as if you were, say, 15 minutes away, like some people are.
Yeah. Right. Just to change tack slightly, I'm going to change screen. I'm going to hide that, which is going to bring two of us on screen. I think it'd be interesting to learn. I'll switch my camera back on so that people can see us both. We've lived through a difficult 18 months. What effect has that had on the real estate market in the States?
Well, by the way, I hear my dog knocking on the door. Okay, so Dexter, the golden doodle, is knocking. What he does is he noses the door handle, so I hear it jiggling, and I'm supposed to be trained well enough to let him in.
I see. He's trained you. Okay.
He's trained me. Especially, I'm in here talking to somebody, so there must be something more interesting going on in here than out there. Okay, I'm sorry. What was your question? Oh, what's changed in real estate? Okay, so I'm gonna talk generally around the United States, and it's happened here in Florida, sort of on steroids. But generally around the United States, people are leaving large cities and they're going to suburbs and don't like to be living in large cities, because I guess that if you're too close to other people, you're dangerous. And also because our large cities, I'm trying to do this without getting into politics, but our large cities tend to have more restrictive rules and regulations. So generally in many places around the United States, the prices of real estate have gone up significantly, and there could be several reasons for this, but one of the reasons is because people are moving around and there just isn't enough real estate on the market, so we have a lack of supply. And what we're seeing here, and then even on the block that I live on, is people put up their house. They list their house at what I think is a reasonable price, and there's a lot of people moving into Florida. I believe there are more people moving into Florida than in any other state in the country, and we're in one of the areas where more people are moving. So you put your house on the market for a certain price, and it sells for above what you're asking. And I've seen houses near me sell for, say, $50,000 more than they're on the market for, and they're not. We're talking. I don't know how big houses are there. I think they're a little bit smaller than here, but we're talking, let's say, a 2,200 square foot house built around 1990. That's going to have, say, 3 or 4 bedrooms, probably 4. 2 to 2.5 or 3, probably 2.5 baths. Maybe, I mean, in my neighborhood, they generally have pools behind them, and we can do something here. I lived in Connecticut last. You can't enclose your pool in a big screen room in Connecticut because the snow would destroy the screen. Yep. Down here in Florida, we don't worry a lot about snow. We did have hail about a year ago, and that put holes in a lot of people's screens. Really didn't do a huge amount of damage to us. If I knew we were going to talk about this, I would have pulled up some pictures of my own to show.
Well, the next time we get together, we can.
The next time we get together, we'll have pictures of Dexter the Golden Doodle. I guess you asked me about this before. I did a 5K with Dexter about 2 weekends ago, and he's done several 5Ks. This was not his best, although he did come in #1 in his class, the canine class, and yes, he was the only dog in it. So I guess that but he did come in first among dogs.
Right. Well, you didn't do so bad yourself.
No, I was 5th in my age subgroup.
Yeah.
There's an interesting thing about 5Ks that I learned. Depending on where you are, depends on how good you do. So a couple of years ago, I was in one around Halloween, in a town called Milford, Connecticut. It's when I lived in Connecticut, and I came in. I was pretty much in the middle of the pack when I came in. Over Thanksgiving, I did another one in a town called Orange, and it seems that people who run 5Ks in Orange are in better shape, because I finished almost 10 minutes sooner.
Yeah.
And the only person behind me was a guy in a wheelchair.
Yeah, yeah. Some of these places are staggering. We've got in the UK, we've got what are called park runs, and on a Saturday and Sunday morning, people gather in country areas, country parks, and they will do a 5K. And you've got people who can do the 5K in 24 minutes, and you've got people who can do the 5K in just under an hour. And so you've got a great mix of different abilities. And the idea is obviously not, I mean, obviously for these people who actually can do it in 17, 24 minutes, they do it day in, day out, and they're training their athletes. But for everybody else, it is a great way to keep fit, isn't it?
Yes, and I don't really run the whole thing. Dexter and I try to do between 1.5 and 2.5 miles walking every day.
Yeah.
When we do a 5K, it's a combination of run and walk. And I'm gonna guess I'm gonna say that I ran more than a third of it, but we'll see. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little.
No. Look, basically, what they did was a poll sort of published today in the UK, which said during lockdown, 70% of the population started walking as an exercise, and they're still doing it. Yeah, because in the beginning of lockdown, you're only allowed out once a day.
I was going to say that you couldn't go more than some sort of distance from your house. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
We never had any restrictions for outside, and I started doing my walking. As a matter of fact, 2 to 3 days a week, I carry 2 5-pound weights while I'm walking. I started doing this actually before I got my dog, who's 8 years old. And I kept doing it, and actually we're on a waiting list with a breeder to get a second one. And hopefully in the next year or so, I'll be walking with 2 dogs, and everybody loves Dexter. So if you haven't seen Golden Doodles, then you have, because just about every dog in every commercial these days is a Golden Doodle, and I don't know why they've become so popular, and I don't think they were as popular 8 years ago when we got him. He's a cross between a golden retriever and a poodle, and because of that, he has hair instead of fur, and he doesn't shed, and he's hypoallergenic. So he has a lot of, and he's very friendly, loves everybody, and full of energy, even for an 8-year-old, which is considered geriatric in dog ages.
Indeed, because 7 of their years, 7 of our, yeah. Okay, right now, while Ed takes a breather for a moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I've been using in terms of this. Okay, I'm going to put this in the stream. I'm going to put it full screen. Okay, now this is XSplit Presenter. And what it means is that I can show on screen images, and that's a website. And the thing about that is that it's an interactive website. So I can scroll down the website if I get it right. Probably won't get it right, but I can scroll. Oh, that moved the whole picture. Didn't mean to do that. Ed and I are going to talk about estate agents using live video in a moment. But I just wanted to show you this because it does change the way in which we can actually use BeLive. It gives us the ability to go picture in picture, and as you saw when Ed was on the screen a moment ago, we're back, you can have 2 people on screen and a website in the background, which we couldn't do before. The other thing is that you can use this to actually play video as well, and you can have a mix. And Ed is sharing screen, so I'm going to go back to myself and Ed. Now it's had a breather, and then we're going to talk about estate agents and how they can use broadcasting. So just to prove the point, this is infinitely flexible, and I can move myself, just a minute, I can move myself about the screen like that, and I just think it's magical. It's an extension to what we can do on BeLive already. It's currently free, I think. So this is XSplit Presenter, another toolkit to add to your broadcasting armory, and I just enjoyed using it so much. I'm using it in a broadcast on Amazon Live tonight to actually show the National Trust, English Heritage, and the National Park Foundation in the States, and it just makes life so easy to actually be able to switch things around. Okay, enough of my talking and showing off XSplit Presenter. We're going to hide that and come back to myself and Ed. Okay, now you just shared a screen, Ed.
Yeah, why don't you give me a second to try to share it again, because I don't know exactly which one's going to come up when I share this.
Okay.
So just give me a second here.
Right. Okay.
So I know that I can do this. And
okay, just a minute.
No, hold on a sec. It's give me a sec here to try this again.
This is live video. We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there eventually. Okay. So I think I am good.
Okay, so I'm going to bring that screen share in. I'm going to take myself off solo.
So can you see me now?
Just a minute. Right, okay. So we've got you and me on screen, and then I've got a blank screen share.
Yeah, I'm doing a live broadcast here. I think that was my wife knocking on the door that time. Okay, is my screen shared? Because I can't see it right now.
Basically, all I've got is a black screen at the moment.
Oh.
Do you want to do that again?
Oh, there we go. Can you see it now?
Just a minute. I'm just checking. No, I can't see anything now. Can you try again, please? There we go.
Now you can see it.
Hang on. Let's just cursor right and see if I've got something in my collection. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. You mean that?
Yes. Okay. So we can. This is. By the way, I've never shared a screen as I'm a guest here, and just to go into a little bit about how BeLive works. This is Steve's account, and Steve brought me in as a guest. And as a guest, Steve can share a screen, and as a guest, I can also share a screen. And we're just seeing how how well this this is whoops. Okay, so let's unshare me here.
Okay, you want me to stop the screen share?
There we go. Yeah, I think I should play with this a little bit more on my own before I share screen there, because something looked like it was unstable on my end.
Yeah, it is Nick saying that was a cute dog, and get back and I'll hide that, and we're back to the two of us on screen.
I was going to put up some pictures of him visiting his favorite store, which is Home Depot, which is they sell hardware and tools and lumber and such there. It's a home store, and I open the hatch back of the car. He walks into the wagon, and then we push him through the store, and everybody comes up and says hello to him.
Brilliant. Right. Okay. Now we were chatting before the broadcast started, and you're talking about the ways in which estate agents can use video.
Well, okay, so I've seen different agents do different things. Some go to houses and basically do a tour of the house. Others, like for instance, I'm in Lake Mary. What I might do is a tour of Lake Mary. Why would you want to live here? Now, one other thing that I've seen that looks very effective is that agents choose some houses in their market and then find another agent in another state or another market, and they compare houses and what houses are like in, say, the same price range, to give people an idea of what's available. And I guess that if I was doing that, somebody wanted to move down to the Orlando area, that they would. One of the issues we have down here, as I said earlier, is that so that application I was having problems with showing the pictures is back, and it's working now. I don't know why it wasn't working before. Like I said, this is something that we need to play with offline before we bring it online and embarrass ourselves.
I would just, yeah, okay. I mean, the live video is all about being live and things happening, and that's natural. I mean, that happens in most broadcasts. So estate agents are actually using mobile to shoot video.
They're using mobile to shoot video. Some of them, well, during COVID, some were doing virtual open houses where they do a live broadcast, and you could tell them, hey, go into the kitchen and show me you know what, I want to see the microwave oven that's built into the to the cabinet. So can you just do a close up of that? And that's how it depends on the rules. My family sold a condo in New York, and New York law rules were different than the rules down here in Florida, where there you couldn't even, they weren't allowing more than one person or two people. There was a certain rule into an apartment at a time, and of course it was only they weren't letting all businesses be open, just businesses that were essential. And in many states, including Florida and New York, real estate agents were deemed essential, so we could work.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same in the UK. As you mentioned earlier, prices rising in Florida. They're actually rising in the UK as well. And it's for that very reason. I mean, there's been a total change in the way that people work now. People used to travel to the office, central London, go to the office, work all day, come home by 8 o'clock at night, and that was their life. So it started at 6 in the morning and finished 8 o'clock at night. And basically, because of the changes brought about, people now want to work from home. Yeah,
we've got that here too. My wife actually has been working from home for the entire for about 9 years now. She changed jobs, works for a major communications company down here now, and she worked there for about 3 months. And then COVID hit, and they told her to go work from home, and didn't tell her how she was supposed to do that, but she knew because she's done it before. And then they said that there's something new coming up. It's called hybrid.
Yes.
So hybrid means that they're going to be working sometimes from home and sometimes from the office. Mm-hmm. And in order to, they didn't tell her how to work. Well, they told her how to work in the office, I guess. They didn't tell, there were no training films about videos about how to work from home, but they do have training videos to explain how to do hybrid, because I guess they figure you worked from the office, you've worked from home, you probably can't figure out how to work from home sometimes and the office the rest of the time without watching the hours of videos to train you to how to do this.
Yeah.
And but we've had a lot of that happening here. My son works for a big internet company. They told him a year ago, March, to work from home for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, well, look, if I'm going to work from home, it doesn't matter where I work from. It's March. I live in New Jersey. I work in New York City. I don't want to be stuck in my apartment in March. It just wouldn't be very nice here. So, Dad, why don't I come down and visit you guys where I've got a swimming pool and a dog, and I'm going to add, and he won't have to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
And he's been here ever since.
Right.
So that's, so yeah, we're working from here. And I guess that what a lot of people are thinking of when they're looking for a new house is, it used to be that maybe you have a 3-bedroom, and one of the bedrooms or one of the areas is going to be a media room where you put the computer if you're a family that only has one. So these days, you need an extra bedroom for the his and her Zoom rooms.
Yeah, we've all benefited from Zoom, and it has changed the way that people actually work. I mean, if you don't need to go in the office every day, then you now got the options to. We hear stories every day, but I think it's not going to change. I think now that people have got used to working part-time from home, bosses are going to struggle to get people back in. I mean, the thing is that when you are physically in the same room, then you can brainstorm. And brainstorming on a computer.
Yes, you can, and no, you can't. My wife works for the department my wife is in. The only people who work there is her boss. Everybody else is either in an office in two other states, so she never sees them anyway. And it depends on your company and how they're set up, and maybe your company puts everybody in the same room or in the same bullpen, or they put their cubicles next to each other, and some don't. But if you've successfully worked remotely for 18 months, is an office necessary? And I think there's a lot of companies these companies, I guess we call them Class A offices, brass and glass, although they're really more like, they really more look like silver and glass. These, the newer buildings they're building, do they need all this space? What's going to happen to all this space? What's going to happen to the cost of the rent? And are those buildings now worth a lot less money because less people want to rent them?
Yeah, we're going to find out over time, but it's I think it's the benefit to everybody, because if you're actually working from home and you want to take a break, you can go for a walk. Yeah,
sure, the dog's right there.
Yeah,
my wife was knocking on the door because it was time to take the dog out for the afternoon walk.
Okay.
And I sometimes join her. So she goes out, she checks the mail, the dog does his business, and then she's back again. And she can just walk in. Now, the office that my son works in, they brag that no person is more than 200 and some odd feet away from a refreshment station where they've got all kinds of things. But for us, we've got whatever snacks we have, and they're the snacks that we've put in the house. So they're what we like, and we can go and grab a handful of peanuts or a whatever it is that that you like to snack on, piece of fruit, whatever.
Yeah. Indeed. Now, one of the hidden benefits of live broadcasting is a form of networking, isn't it? It's a form of meeting people. And you and I have got to know a lot of people since we started live broadcasting. And I think we should give a shout out to people that we both know. And that's Brigetti, John, Nick, and Ross. Now, Nick is here. Yeah. Is there possibly. So I mean, networking forms a great part of this, doesn't it? As an estate agent, it's the ability to reach out to people and get to know them.
Yeah, I even know some fairly large live broadcasters who are 2 to 4 hours away that I've never even met.
Yeah, that's it.
And
yeah,
you know, we interact online all the time. Maybe they have a group that I'm a member of. I don't have my own tech group at this point, but I'm a member of several tech and streaming and live groups.
Yeah, it's just a brilliant way to actually get to know people, because you can interact, even if you're not on screen, you can interact in the text, and these people are available to ask questions of. I just want to see if I've got something. I have. Just a minute. I'm going to bring this up on screen if I can find it. Just give me a minute, Ed. I will get there. I just want to find something, because how is it when you want to find something? We're having one of those moments. I will find it, because it's getting closer. I know, unless I'm going the wrong way in the carousel, which is always possible. I found it. Okay, I have found it. Okay, because we both know Ross Brand.
Yes, we know Ross.
And Ross,
I know Brigetti.
Indeed. And Ross and Brigetti. Well, first of all, Ross, I mean, he started, let's just reminisce for a moment.
They started in broadcasting.
Yeah, he started in 2016, asking people what's going to happen in 2017. Then in 2017, he asked people what's going to happen in 2018. And here we are 5 years later. Originally, it was a blog, but now it's a book on Amazon. And
yes.
it's got 100 broadcasters, live broadcasters and podcasters in the book. And quite a few of them you and I know.
Yeah, and I know somebody else who actually she's from Austria. She has a website and she blogs regularly on the website, and she took all of her blog posts, and if you go over maybe you know, maybe you don't know, that you can publish a book on Amazon. And if the book is over a certain number of pages, the cost of the book goes up precipitously. So she ended up turning her blog posts into 2 separate books, a volume 1 and a volume 2.
Yeah.
And these are about real estate. That's what she blogs about.
Okay. Right. Well, incredibly, Ed, we've been talking for nearly an hour. And Dexter knows we've been talking for an hour.
Yes.
Right. Basically, if you'd like to give your thoughts about live broadcasting and BeLive in particular, and advice to broadcasters, that would be a great way to actually finish the broadcast. So it's
okay. Well, basically, what one of the things that I guess I talked a little bit more about microphones than anything else technical, and the reason is because from what I've seen, it's important for you to sound good. If any of the cameras out there are going to make you look good, but if you sound like echoey because of the room you're in, or you sound like you're talking from the bottom of a wastebasket, people aren't going to sit there and listen to you. So that's one of the things that's interested me. Now, you mentioned BeLive. BeLive is basically a broadcast studio software as a service. So we go to a website, we pay a subscription fee or pay upfront for a year, and it gives you everything that you need to put screens up on your stream. We can put up to 4 people on the screen at the same time, and you know, it basically gives you the option of doing almost everything that your local cable news network here in the United States, it's MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, Sky News over there in the UK, and they do this. They do interviews where they put 2 or 3 people on the screen. They move them around. They can they can put little messages. Wait a minute. There we go. I'm trying to get to, there we go. They can put a little message along the bottom. We call that a lower third, and we can do that. Steve, put up there we go. Okay, there's Nick on a lower third. He can put my name on a lower third. He can put what I'm talking about. What am I talking about, Steve? He can put that on the lower third. And I got to remember that, well, wait a minute. I want to go from this direction to that direction, which is kind of backwards for me, so it looks forward on the screen. And I guess that Steve, you kind of demonstrated most of the thing, or many of the things we can do. We can put a frame around us. We can change the background behind us. Many things like that we can do using BeLive. Is that a pretty much wrap it up there? Oh, and we've got a crawler along the bottom. They call it a cryon or a crawler.
Crawler, right? Okay. Wow. I guess that's a signal for the end of today's broadcast. Ed, I'd like to say just thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing everybody again in the BeLive Streamers group in October. Ed, thank you, and we'll see you both see you soon. Bye for now.
Okay, let's do this again.
Indeed. Take care, everybody. Bye.